Welcome to today's show. Our topic today is better days ahead. I just want to take a moment to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You are such an important part of this world. And something came to me this morning, and I don't know if it was from my angels or who it was from, but I heard you're the heart of the family and the heart of the nation. And it struck me so deeply. I wrote that down. And I hope that you have a lovely day today. I just want to explain a little bit about how this particular episode came to be, and send a thank you to Suzanne in Georgia. She works with my sister at a company, and turned out it was one of these. I just had another situation with a different sister, but with this one, she just found out that this woman likes my podcast and listens to it. And then through my sister, she suggested this show. And it was because I had done an episode. I think it was on actually a different topic. It was more like psychic predictions, but a lot of it was talking about that things are getting better moving forward from here, that a lot of things, not everything, but things are getting better. And she asked if I would elaborate on that. So I'm going to do that today. And I want to talk a little bit about how this information comes to me. Yes, sometimes I'm just going about my day and suddenly angels are giving me information about what's going to happen. But it's more about a pattern I saw. So a long time ago, my angels started coming in every time I was doing a reading for someone or myself, and asked about a timeline, such as when is something going to happen. And I'd feel and I still do feel their energy coming in, and they give me information about that timeline. My timelines were very good before, but since the angels started chiming in, they got a lot better. Well, big surprise, because angels know what's happening behind the scenes for all of us and on a world scale. They know what's going to happen in the future. So I was surprised when they started coming in and participating and coming into every reading, but that's how this came to be. So when I look at timelines for clients or myself occasionally, I see a pattern emerging, and consistently I'm seeing improvements in many aspects of life. And that's both on a personal and a world level. Some people ask about their lives, but over the last year, more people are asking about situations in our country, situations occurring in the world as a whole. And again, I get that things will improve later this year, 2022, and going forward. Not everything. Life doesn't work that way, right? It's not like a magical day occurs and everything across the board gets better. But what it's about is that there's light at the end of the tunnel in several areas here. And there's some of the areas I know there's going to be improvement, but I couldn't get a clear enough answer to feel secure about telling you. But I just want to kind of start by saying, first and foremost, 2022 is better than recent ones, and it's going to get better as the year moves on. We're still emerging from all the trauma of recent hardships we've faced individually, as a nation, as a world, and we're going to find that we feel this resurgence of hope beginning to return to us. I think a lot of that is getting back to somewhat of a normal life. It's still not quite there, not where I live anyway. Maybe it is for some of you. Good for you, lucky ones. But Cynthia's shaking her head no. She's here live on the show with me. But I see some returning of it. It makes me very happy, and I feel better not having to wear a mask everywhere I go. And I don't have a problem with wearing one, but I worked in public health for a long time. I heard lots and lots about pandemics long before we even had one. I was prepared for this, no big deal. But what I noticed was people were not as nice when we wore masks. It's when you can't see a person's smile, their mouth. It almost like we were depersonalized, and people felt more comfortable being rude or not even trying to be kind or polite or friendly to one another. Not everyone, but a lot more people than usual. So that makes me feel happier already. I just feel like I smile most of the time, and it makes me really happy when some people smile back, that, say, have a great day. They say, have a great, great day. I like those little micro interactions through my day. So that lifted my spirits a bit. So sometimes the truth is we don't want to know what's going to happen. And I have a thing in my readings where I say, I'm not alone in this. This is not just an Ivory thing, but if you don't really want to know the answer, don't ask the question. Just the other day, maybe 2 days ago, lovely young woman in my office, and she asked a lot of questions, and then she stops, and I could tell this was coming, and she said, I don't know if I want to ask this. And I'm like, then I don't think you should, because if you're not sure you're ready, I think your higher self is telling you you don't want to know. So if there's some part of something I start to talk about and you don't want to know, mute that part. It's totally fine. Won't break my heart. I get it. There are times that I ask my angels something I just feel like I need to know. And the answer sometimes saddens me or causes me anxiety. But I'm the type of person who prefers to be prepared, probably the Virgo in me. I'd rather know the truth and be ready for it than wonder about all the different possibilities that might be coming. And even if being ready is being prepared mentally myself, then to me that helps. And I have a feeling that there's others of you out there, I cannot be alone in this, who like to know. So I want to talk first about our personal lives, because this is where I'm seeing it most often is, I see a lot of people from all over the world in my office and virtually. And yeah, there's similar questions asked, they're not always the same. Everyone's life is unique. Their situations are unique, but it's really about our personal life that affects us the most. So some of the major categories, I guess I would say, where I'm seeing consistently in client after client that things are going to get better. The number one is relationships of all kinds, whether it's husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, parents and children, siblings, friends. There's been so much discord, and of course there is. Think about all the discord going on around us. Think about all the trauma, the drama going on around you, the world, the country. We all feel that energy. We are energetic beings, and we absorb that energy into ourselves. It affects us, whether we realize it or not is irrelevant, is still affecting us. So as that starts to lift, then we can deal with just our own feelings and our own situation and not be so kind of living at an already high stress level, which makes you more reactive, more sensitive, more likely to take offense at things, take things personally. So in 2023 is when the angels say discord levels are going to drop. I think it's already happening a little bit. I can feel the shift, but 2023, that's not that far away at this point. So the reason is there'll be less pressures on us, which is reflected in all of us having generally more harmonious relationships. It made me think back to when I worked in mental health, and I was working for the county, public health. And so we did expos. And at a health expo, I was asked to run a table, and I love working at those events. That was always so much fun. And I decided I would give people a stress test, and I printed it out on paper. And I still talk about that sometimes with clients, because a lot of people don't know that stress is stress, whether changes are stress. So just for an example, on the sheet would be negative stressors and positive stressors and how they're equal. For example, a death in the family is equally as stressful as birth of a new child. And a marriage is as stressful as a divorce, things of that sort. So just to let people know. So think about all of those kind of stressors you have in your personal life. And then we add a major pandemic, a global, financial issues, so many people losing their jobs, so many people losing their housing, people not having enough food to eat, people worried about war breaking out, people, countries invading other countries and in other parts of the world. There's just all these things start to build our pressure up. So if your stress level was already here with your own personal life, it probably went up to about here. So we always knew, when I worked at a psychiatric hospital, if somebody came in and I did an intake with them and they had a stressful life, I know that they're already here. And so we need to treat them with kid gloves. We need to talk softly to them. We need to be careful, extra considerate, because they're going to go off much easier. Same is true for all of us in this country, in this world. More discord, more likely you get upset, more likely you lose your temper, more likely take offense, all of these things, because you're walking around with a stress level this high. It doesn't take much to blow your top off, right? So I see that lessening. The angels are adamant. I asked them multiple times about all of these things I'm going to talk about today. I didn't want to just pull out my notes from that psychic predictions show and reiterate that, because timelines change all the time based on all the parties involved with the things that they do and the things that they don't do. So we can't go by old information. So that's why I just left that out of the picture. Kind of like when somebody comes to me for a reading and they're like, last time I saw you, I'm like, please don't tell me anymore, because it'll just kind of intrude upon what I'm getting today. And all that matters is what I'm getting today. So along with relationships, the next thing that has been a real running theme is mental health. And the effects on our mental health from the last 2.5 years are being realized, but they're not even fully realized yet. The full impact of what we've all gone through and what it's done. And that includes deaths from COVID, people who were hospitalized and on ventilators, and the trauma. I have a dear friend I almost lost who was on a ventilator for a long time, and her life is changed. Like she's coughing all the time. She has a very hard time breathing. I know she's not alone. I talk to clients too. So just that alone's hard, worrying about money. But by 2025, people are feeling less stress. And it's not that miraculously, again, the calendar goes to 2025 and the sun shines brightly. No, it's like a gradual increase, a gradual lifting of the kind of overall suppression that we all have upon us. And like I said, I feel a little less now. I'm just so sensitive to energy, but that can be good and that can be bad. Right now it's good because I feel that lessening, but I know looking at this that it's going to be gradual. But the big difference is 2025. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, Ivory, that's 3 years away. Yes, it is, but 3 years in the overall scheme is not that bad. It took us 2.5 years to get where we are now. We're not going to recover from this. I've always felt like for every 2 really toxic relationships I was in, it took me about half the time or more that I was in the relationship to recover from the relationship. And I think the same is true for a situation like this. You're not going to come out of the stress and suddenly be your old self. You may never be your old self again. We can never go back. We can only go forward. So we just keep latching on to the positives, and we really want to focus on the wonderful things, the positive things, the improvements. We don't want to dwell on the negative. That only makes us like feel like everything's gone to hell, and it's not even, what are we doing here? You know, we don't want to go into that kind of fatalistic thinking. It's not healthy for us. So we'll all be feeling like we're recovering from the trauma, the lengthy anxiety by 2025, like a big improvement. And then I wanted to look at work because that's been such a big issue for so many people. That shift in workplace is permanent for many people. It's already actually come out in the news, so I wasn't surprised to hear this, but it will be very normal to work from home going forward. And it's really going to bring about a massive amount of job satisfaction, overall happiness to the lives of those people who are able to work from home. A lot of it was a lot of flashes that I was seeing about just being able to spend more time at your home, feeling like you can be more present for your family, feeling like you're more in control of your time and energy. Sounds good. I work from home half the time, so I actually think I got used to it and it's pretty good. The last thing was jobs, the job situation. I know this is everywhere. This is not just central Arizona, but there's not a place you can go into, and it's been going on for a long time, that's fully staffed, right? I mean, every place is short staffed. So I thought it would be a good idea to look at that. And the angels said late this year, most businesses will be fully staffed again. And when they were talking about that, like, I feel like there's more job satisfaction too, like less impromptu quitting, less job hopping. Like, people are kind of glad to get back to work, like have some structure to their lives. Um, and I feel like that brings back some normalcy to our routines, to our days as well. And it's not just about going out to eat. It's not about going to stores. It's everything you do in your lifetime. My goodness, I'm known as the orange paint lady at the Ace hardware store in Sedona. Why is that? Because I love the color orange. And did you know the color orange, if you suddenly are attracted to that, it means you're doing some profound healing, like emotional healing. But anyway, I go to Sedona a lot, to the Ace hardware store, and I'm always buying orange paint. Well, there was a time there when I'd have to wait almost an hour to get somebody to come over to the paint department to help me pick a color and mix up some paint or advise me on something. It's those little kind of things, like, yeah, they're annoyances, but it wears on you when it's day after day and everywhere you go. So I kind of thought it would be nice for people to know that that kind of short staffing is coming to an end. And then I looked at the United States. I thought, let's focus on our own country next. And I live in the Southwest, and I've lived here since 75. I can see the effects. I used to go to Lake Powell camping when my daughter was really young. We lived in that area, and it was glorious. And now the places, I was talking to some people who've been there recently, the places that we would go camping, we'd take our boat and set up a tent on the shore. There's no water anywhere near that area now. So there's no boat camping. The lake is down so far. And every time that I drive past Lake Mead, it is so low. It's just makes me cry. The old pier where people used to be standing above it and fishing like 10 feet below into the water is now 200 feet above the water level. It's just this crazy pier up in the middle of a cliff face. So the evidence of that is all around. We just don't get the rain we used to. So this is not just true for the Southwest, but also California, the Northwest. But I did look at the Southwest, and if there's interest in these other areas, let me know. The situation begins to improve in 2028. And I was sad to hear that, but I was so happy. I actually was so happy to hear that there's an end to this. And I wanted to know why, like what happens. And the angels said that there's a turn in the weather patterns that leads to more regular rain and snowfall. So it's not an aberration where it's like a one-time deal, but something shifts and we suddenly are getting more rain and snow. I would love that. I'm one of those people who is happiest when it's raining, sleet, fog, or snow. Why do I live in central Arizona? I fell in love with it. I don't know what to tell you. So the next thing, somebody asked me, oh, and the angels are coming in as I bring this up. A person emailed me before the show and asked if I would talk about Roe versus Wade. They're concerned about that. So I did look at that. The angels say it's likely to be overturned eventually, but the angels say that those rights will be returned to us. So that's going to be happy news for some and unhappy for others, but it is the answer the angels gave me. The other one is somebody asked about discord in the House of Representatives. And there will be less discord in the latter part of 2022. And they really did not say why, but I felt like something happens that's like a shakeup, a shocking shakeup. And it just sort of wakes people up. And that's a good thing. So the situation will not improve dramatically for another 18 years from this point. I'm saddened by that, but the angels are saying that is true. There will be increasing attempts to get both parties to work as a team. But we're in for a long haul here of trying to get our parties to work together, like the right wing and the left wing, so we can fly properly. And the last thing was somebody asked about midterm elections. And I was told there'll be less contention this year, but there was something there they were withholding from me. And I probed a little further. I feel like there's going to be less contention because there's some shock. And I feel like people are so shocked. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. What that shock is, they're not telling me. And sometimes it's not like I can't handle it or don't want to know. I kind of do. But just like any time of interaction with angels, oh my goodness, there's times when just because I'm an angel communicator doesn't mean they're going to tell me everything. I learned that as a child. There were times that I asked something and they're just silent. And this still continues this day, whether it's for me or I'm communicating with angels for a client. They'll just be silent, or they'll tell me, we can't tell you that. We're not allowed to let you know that. Or sometimes there's a yet attached to that. And so when I don't get this information, I really don't worry about it too much. I just know there's a reason, and I trust them, and I I'll know eventually. Maybe when the rest of I don't always know things in advance. And then I looked at the world. And so I actually had put the word out to quite a few people, like, send your questions in. So the first one, there were several people who wanted to know about COVID. I understand that. There will be another outbreak of COVID in fall of this year, and it will be greatly reduced going forward from that point. What I heard from the angels is it never completely goes away, but it is never a pandemic after this fall. So I was happy to hear that. I've had enough pandemic. I'm sure you're all in agreement. The next thing people asked about was the Ukraine invasion. I certainly understand that. It's on my mind every day as well. The only thing they said is it will be over by the last quarter of this year. And I know some people don't think about the quarters, so that just means the last 3 months of this year. And I think that's too long. I feel so bad for them. They're just suffering so much. People asked about Russia, yeah, kind of in conjunction with the Ukraine situation. And it was very hard to get information. There was a lot that I was getting a blank on, like nothing, no response. But what I did hear from the angels is that Russia will be brought under control in some way, and they'll stop invading other countries, but the desire to do so will remain within them. I couldn't get any details about Putin or the leadership or anything like that. We can't, you can't be given everything. Darn it. And then several people asked about the situation for women living in Afghanistan. That I wanted to know that too, just so you all know, like, that breaks my heart. I had, at the time that the Taliban was taking over, I was in the middle of reading a book by an American woman who spent many years in Afghanistan setting up beauty schools to train Afghanistan women to make a living so that they didn't have to live in poverty. They could support themselves and their children. And they were finally stepping into the modern world, like feeling good about themselves and really building a community amongst themselves to support. And in the middle of that, reading that book is when the Taliban took over. And it's been pretty heartbreaking, but what the angels say is that women will regain more freedom there in 2024. I'm so relieved for that. They say there's going to be a major shakeup in that country that allows women to go back to school, to work, and to lose the burqa. If you don't know what the burqa is, it's that all-in-one garment that goes over the head, completely covers your head to toe, and there's little holes poked right around the eye part so they can sort of see out of it. I've worn one of those. I was curious. Boy, the angels are coming in about this. I don't know why, but I wore one of those because I wanted to know what it's like. And it's hot and it's oppressive and you really cannot see well. I was like stumbling around. So it's kind of dangerous to have that on. The last issue quite a few people asked about was food production. It's in the news a lot, like the concerns about food production. A lot of it is because Ukraine is a breadbasket for a lot of the world, and they're concerned about that. But there's actual food production concerns even before Ukraine was invaded. So the angels say that that issue lessens next year, 2023, and improves dramatically by 2030. And I could feel like there's such effort going into this, but anytime there's a big issue, a big problem, it is not fixed overnight. It's not fixed in a year or 2 years. I kind of wasn't really surprised to hear that it's 2030 before there's a big improvement. But another thing they showed me is that there's going to be more people becoming farmers, but that it will look different than it used to. It's not going to be about people having these large parcels of land and using, big tractors. It's more about high density growing, hydroponics, and locally grown produce. That we're going to move towards getting locally grown produce. That is so great. I don't know if you know, not only is it healthier for you, but also it helps you with your allergies. I will drive all the way over. It's like 45 minutes, still part of the Verde Valley where I live, but I'll drive all the way over to Camp Verde to get tomatoes, peaches, pecans, all kinds of things that are grown there if I can't get them right here in town. There's really not much growing going on in Sedona. There's a community garden that's really cool out at Red Rock Crossing where people can have a little plot of land, but that's not selling to the public. So in Cottonwood nearby, there's some places, but the food is just so good for you to get it locally grown. So I think that's a wonderful bright spot to look forward to. And then there were a whole lot of questions about the environment. And I am an environmental activist. So I have been since the angels showed me what was coming back in 84, 85, terrified me and galvanized me. And they kind of charged me and said, you're supposed to do something about this. And I remember I was 24, 25 years old, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then a couple of years after that, I got a job in radio and I was put in charge of promotions. And so I did, like, that's when I was able to do big things like in my area to clean up the environment. So it did happen. But let's start with the oceans. That was the first thing I looked at. And the angels say major cleanup of our oceans are going to begin late this year. And it leads to our oceans being significantly less polluted by 2025. It's a huge job. I bet a lot of you who are like my age and even older remember hearing that nothing we do to the oceans could ever really damage it. It's just so vast. There's nothing we could do. And then here we are in 2022, where there's microplastics all over the place and trash blowing under the surface along the shoreline. We absolutely have impacted it. So I was shown vast amounts of that trash and the microplastics being successfully removed from the oceans. And I asked if that was specific oceans or worldwide, and it's worldwide. And it needs to be because they're all interrelated, of course. And then the next thing was the air for our planet. The angels say a huge effort to purify our air begins in 2024. And though the situation has been allowed to go way too far, major improvement in the air quality is seen by 2027. And this will involve technological devices as well as big changes by industry. I want to tell you, like, I saw something on a news story. I look at a lot of different things. Like, I love to look at positive news. What's great happening out there? I don't want to just wallow in despair. And there's one that was things people are doing, like independent people are coming up with, and somebody had invented this device that sucks pollution out of the air. And I read something, somebody was kind of saying, oh, it's not feasible. There'd have to be so many of those around the planet. Well, the angels showed me as I was reading that, they showed me those being all over the planet. So I think whoever you are that invented that, congratulations to you and thank you, because those devices are going to prove really instrumental in cleaning up our air. So the last thing on that is soil. And that kind of comes back to our food security as well. This is actually, like, as soon as I asked the angels about the soil, man, I got a huge rush of energy, and I feel it. They're giving it to me again now. I've got chills all over. This is where the biggest dramatic improvement happens first. One thing that happens, that this is just one aspect, it's certainly not the only reason our soil's in trouble, but they showed me that Roundup and similar products will be banned worldwide. They're causing so many problems. I don't know if you've heard of leaky gut syndrome, but so many people have it, and cancers caused by those chemicals in that it gets into the water system. So that's just one thing. But also the soil just will be generally cleaner and more productive for growing food. by 2026. That's not very far away. And I really feel like that goes hand in hand with that food production. And the angels are saying yes right now. They're confirming that because remember, the food production gets a lot more secure for the world by 2030. So that gives them like, it comes out and then 4 years later, we have a lot more food. And I think it's because the soil is healthier. It grows, it's more productive, grows healthier, sturdier food. So kind of an overall for the rest of this year, the second half, so June, through July, actually starting July, is that we'll feel like life is more harmonious. We'll start feeling more creative again. I know I'm feeling that. Spirituality is going to go way up. And I just rejoice at that one. I see it, people coming to me who are saying, I never thought about things like this before, but all of a sudden I'm wondering about God and I'm wondering about angels and I want to be the best person I can be, that kind of thing. And it just makes my heart so happy, to see that happening. So the angels are saying we'll also feel more romantic. It's kind of hard to feel romantic when you're terrified. There's all these things happening and you feel uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen. I actually met a great guy online early in the pandemic, and I could feel like he was having a really hard time with the pandemic, and it didn't work out because his stress and anxiety level, and nothing against him. Really, he's a wonderful guy. And that has happened to a lot of people, meeting in person, meeting online, that things just couldn't work out. And I finally just really felt like until things settle down, where the angels are coming in again, they're all over this. Until things settle down, it's very hard to open your heart, to feel that kind of trust, to like have enough of yourself to give to another person to fall in love. And let's see. When it comes to entertainment, that in the second half of this year, expect kind of a renaissance of art, to just the arts and entertainment to just sort of boom. And that really is about people feeling better, feeling more hope. It's hard to be creative. I went through a period of time. Normally I play music. I have a lot of musical instruments. I'll play one of them every day. And it's part of my mental health. It's part of my stress reduction. I love it. It's meditation time for me too. And I sing, I've sang professionally since I was very young, 17. And I just haven't felt like doing a whole lot of that. I just haven't had that much joy in me, I guess, or it's I've just been pouring it into my work and other people, but I'm starting to do that again, and it feels really good. So if you're something that you really gives you joy, you used to really enjoy, and it involves arts, creativity, please get back to it, give it a shot. It's something you've always wanted to try. This is a great time to do that. So now through October of this year, expect to be feeling more passion, more confidence and courage. And it's really about feeling like we do have the power to create the life we really desire the most. We do not have to be a leaf traveling on a stream, being taken wherever the stream wants to take us. We're going to grab control and we're going to say, you know what, I can see how I created the life I have now. This is the life I want, and kind of make a game plan and go for it and make it happen. Manifestation. Whatever it is that you wish to have in your life, whether it's personal, professional, or just a dream you've had that's really, really important for you, you can more easily manifest that when you step into your power, take the lead, and initiate action. So it's interesting because next week's show is about why manifestation is so important. That's not why I mentioned it today, but I thought I'd throw that out there. While it might not happen for you overnight, you'll quickly see the universe is rewarding you for just staying steady with the course. And it's so funny. Like I did a show about angel numbers and I love them so much. I consider that like a shorthand language angels use to communicate with us. And in those numbers is profound messages. So I had never really seen fours a lot before, or I wasn't noticing them, but all of a sudden I've been seeing it continues. I'm seeing 444 or 44, maybe 34 times a day. And I looked it up on my favorite website, and man, I just love her site. Joanna's got a great one. If you look up Joanna Scribes, Joanne Scribes. It goes all the way up to number 10,000. And the first time I found that site, the angels just like started singing, rejoicing. And every time I go there, I feel their energy just imbuing me, just like all this angelic energy, like they get real excited. So she's got a great connection to angels. And on that site, 444, it was about you're doing the right thing. You're accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Stay the course. Don't give up now. You're making, you're making headway. You're doing the right thing. And I feel like for me, it really resonated that like you are doing what your angels told you to do. You're doing it the way they want you to. And even if you can't see progress on a regular basis, it's there. And every time I start to doubt that, like I get these wonderful emails or hear something from a family member who somebody has my book and they're like, that's my sister's book. And they're talking about how much it means to them or the show means to them. That is my angels sending me little messages to help me stay the course. And I tell you this because you might be seeing more angel numbers yourself right now and need to look that up. And you might need that same kind of encouragement. A lot of light workers I know who are working their mission or really working toward their mission can be easily discouraged. So make sure that you notice those little encouragements, whether it's angel numbers or the angels sending people to remind you that you're being helpful for people. So the key to maximizing that kind of energy is to make a vision board. And if you don't know what that is, it's just a big poster board and you cut out things or write words on it, cut out pictures of things that you want. It could be the word peace, harmony. I had one for a long time that was all spirituality things, but for the long time too, like I had the name of the place I wanted to work at and what my office would be like and all kinds of things related to that. And I ended up working at that place and my office looked like that. And then it was time for a new vision board. But that helps you create a long-term strategy to just sort of make things happen. We're coming into this time where you're going to feel a shift. You're going to feel yourself kind of shaking off, scraping off the last 2.5 years. And you're like, all right, I want to get back to my life. I want to get things back on track here. I want to make some progress. So that's a good way for you to start moving ahead. And one thing I thought was really great when the angels we were talking about the country, they were really clear that like right now, the United States has this opportunity to reflect on its core purpose. What do we want to be? Who are we? What were we founded on? What's important to us and what's going to be important to us moving forward? We can go through this Phoenix rising moment and we can rise again brighter than we've ever been. So I like to hear that because it's not a good idea. That saying, resting on your laurels, whether you do it personally, as a company, as a country. If you rest on your laurels, you're just going back to what you did good before, things you did before. But what are you doing now? What are you doing now to make things better, to make things clear? We always need to be forward focused in our personal lives and as a country, as a world, really. We don't want to keep trying to go back to some place that we were in history. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You cannot unlearn the things the experiences you've had, the awakenings that you've gone through. And right now, I know this is something at Sedona Soul Sisters, my business, that the three of us there talk about, plus Ed, our bearded soul sister. We talk about how all of us keep seeing that we are going through this massive spiritual awakening as a world, as a planet, everyone on it. The people who are tuned into their spirituality, who are really tuned into themselves, they know what's happening, they understand it, and they're rejoicing, they're going through it. And the people who aren't are feeling scared, uncertain, a little like they're on shaky ground. They don't know what's happening, but they will. It's not about somebody being better than somebody else. That is not what a spiritual journey is about at all. It has nothing to do with ego. We have to respect where we each are on our journey. And The people who don't know what's happening, they're not meant to know what's happening at this point, or they'd know, right? Because it all unfolds as it's meant to. That's God's plan. That's how the angels work. That's just how things are. So I just like to send them a blessing. And sometimes I'll talk to their higher self to try to calm them down. Of course, I talk to their human self, but there's things that you cannot say to someone who is not ready to hear it. And you have to really ask yourself. I like to ask my angels, and usually lately, if I open my mouth to say something to a person and I'm kind of not sure, they'll tell me, don't bother, or that's not going to go well, or that's not going to be well received. They'll stop me. I see you laughing. Cynthia, does that happen to you? Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yes. I know I'm not alone with this. I want to help people, and I want to help them understand what's going on, but you can't make a person go forward on their spiritual path. You can't make them put a toe on the spiritual path and begin the journey. You have to respect where they are. And maybe in this lifetime, they're not supposed to get on a spiritual path. There's something that they're here to learn. There's lots of things they're here to learn, and they're learning it in their own way. And it doesn't make, again, no one's better than somebody else or worse than somebody else. We're just doing our own journey. And I think it's really important right now, if you've been having a hard time during the last 2.5 years, as most have. I mean, very few people are not feeling it in any way. I definitely feel it. Then it's a good time to focus on your self needs, really focusing, try not to listen to so much news, because they love to dramatize. And the worst ones, if you ever see a headline, could this lead to this? Don't watch it. Don't read it, because that's fear mongering. Why in the world would we want to put a what if into our head that's some horrendous thing? Let's wait and see what happens. Let's put our energy into things we can control, which is ourselves, which is maybe helping local charities, giving to charities that are reputable, that are directly helping people. But watching too much news where it's all dramatized and trying to get your emotions up is actually very damaging to you. So just a few things to think about. And I hope that you've enjoyed the show. I hope that it's eased your mind that there are some better days ahead. And though everything's not going to be rosy all at once, things are starting to get better. And the more of us who are really tuning into hope and love and compassion, unconditional love, all of those wonderful, very high frequency emotions, this time, all these timelines could be moved up dramatically, and angels just seconded that. So I see it all the time in my work. And that is why it's so important for you to keep your frequency up by thinking positively, talking positively, reading and watching positive things. Really pay attention to what affects your energy. And for you who are not totally tuned into that yet, maybe you just notice that you suddenly feel sad, or you feel hopeless, or you get real tired. That is your body telling you that's not good for you. So those of you who are in tune, you don't need me to tell you, because you're well aware of all of the things that happen when you're indulging in something that's not helping you, that's actually detrimental. But I want you to know, tune in next week. I will be talking about why manifestation is important. It's happening to me, crazy manifestations happening to me without me even trying. So I think the more that you practice it, the more you do it, the more you see it happening. And it's all about just creating the reality that you want in your life. You created the one you have now. You have the power to create something better. It's not magic, it's energy. So in the meantime, have a wonderful, happy Mother's Day. May your angels surround you. May your angels protect you every moment, every day of your life. I'll see you next week.